right, everybody, welcome to Never Press Pause. This is episode 18. I'm Bill Yarnell, gamertag Yarnasty590, and to my left we got
LBX.
Woo! As you can see, we are Shy 1G, baby. Hopefully he's in the process of changing his gamertag as we speak from KY Guy to G Baby, but he'll never do it.
I'm pretty sure he won't.
What if he just did G Baby 78? Just kept it with the 78. I mean, he really likes that number, apparently.
Why do you gotta have the 78?
Do you think that was his old football number?
No, I know it's not.
His old basketball number? Oh, God. Like always, guys, this is Never Press Pause. Any questions, comments, or concerns can be directed to neverpresspause@yahoo.com. You can follow us on Twitter at neverpresspause. We have our own fan page on Facebook. Make sure you like us the next time you log on to our site, which is neverpresspause.com. And our blogs are up and running on our site thanks to Grant. He's been doing a great job with that. So with that in mind, we going retro tonight. You ready for this?
We going old school?
We going old school, baby. But first off, let's start with what you've been playing. And Bailey, I'll drop it over to you. What have you been playing, LBX?
Well, since
you've been gone.
Since last week, which, you know, we talked about playing Dragon Age. Been playing the same thing. Been playing Dragon Age.
Closer to beating it, or are you going side quests?
I have no idea.
Gotcha.
What I didn't know is, so when you first get there, your main mission is, like the meteor, I guess, part of the game is this guy's going to take you somewhere and do a big quest.
Meteor is in like
the big quest, instead of like short little go
not
do
the
this.
stuff that falls from the sky,
Yeah.
like asteroids. Okay.
I don't get it.
Meteor. It sounded like
Oh,
you said meteor.
but I didn't mean meteor.
I get that now.
Okay. So, oh gosh, you got me confused. So, this guy's like, you know, do some, you got to get me so much money before we can go on this quest. Like, you got to pay him so much money to take you on the big quest. So, I'm doing all these secondary quests and people quests, and I've got tons of money. And then there's these, like, you go to your quest screen, and it has, like, they're called rumors. Like, those are other quests, and I thought rumors, those aren't important. So I get there, and I was like, oh, here's my money, let's go on it. And he's like, make sure you finish any business in the city you've got. So those 4 rumors were the 4 things I had to do also. Like, I guess that was that game's way of telling me the easy way to get money, but I guess I did.
You did the hard way.
So I did every quest in the city.
Other than the 4
that I had to do.
Right.
So I finally, and those took forever. Like, there was like quests. 4 quests in one rumor.
Gotcha.
So I had to do those, and finally I got to go on the big hard part of the quest, which was pretty fun. You get to fight your first big dragon in Dragon Quest when you go on that, and it was tough.
I like dragons.
Yeah, they're not fun to fight though.
Do you remember when they used to be alive back like before the dinosaurs and they ruled the earth?
Yeah,
and that was good times.
I remember when that big dragon fossil the other day. It was awesome.
Dude, I can't believe you got its talent, and you wear that like half of it around your neck at times. It's kind of pretty cool. I like it a lot. So,
yeah.
All right. So
Other
Dragon Age 2. Anything else?
No.
We're gonna get into something because you just totally forgot about something you played.
Oh yeah. Well,
go ahead.
We've been playing a demo of the new Mortal Kombat.
I'm starting to like talking about demos more than I am the games I'm actually playing lately.
Well, Mortal Kombat 4. It's 4, right?
Yeah, it's 4.
It's Mortal Kombat 4. It's the demo was only on PS3 right now. I think the game comes out in April 15th, around that area. So I'm surely they will get an Xbox demo out pretty soon.
Did you check out IGN today by any chance, and the fatalities and stuff? The videos
I've seen some of them.
Oh baby!
But the demo lets you play as 4 characters: Scorpion, Sub-Zero,
Johnny Cage,
and Melina.
Yeah,
Melina. And this is one of the few demos that I've come out. Like, I've played and come back the next day and played the same demo because
you fight those 4 characters.
Yeah,
it's not
you
like
only
you're
fight
go
those 4
them
characters,
and fight somebody different. But
there is like 5 or 6 difficulties you can try on the demo, and there's even 2-player, which I don't have anybody else really to play. I think it's local 2-player.
Call me.
But the fatalities. I mean, the past few Mortal Kombats have been in the 3D like arena, where you can, forward, back, left, right.
Or get knocked up through.
Yeah, and they've been rated. You know
one.
what they've been rated? T for teen. Mm-hmm. This one
not acceptable.
Is a M, a big M for mature.
You know what? They're going back old school style, just
and,
like we're doing tonight.
It's a side. You can move left, right, and jump. That's it. Yep. But That's the way it's supposed to be played.
Also, what I liked about the demo was the fact that you pause the game, which would suck. Did you ever have that when you would play 2-player and you would pause the game? Like wrestling games were the worst, and you'd be like, "Oh, I want to see which this move is, so I want to pause the game in game while you're like trying to fight your friend," and it was miserable. But pausing the game and it pulls up the whole move list. Not only that, it pulls up the fatalities and everything else.
Special moves, the new X-ray special moves,
which was awesome. Watching that dude's like spine snap as I'm hitting
there's
him.
There's spines. There's like spleens being. I think it's a spleen being punctured,
cracking some ribs.
Yeah. Now the part I don't. It's real subtle, but if you pay attention during the fight, if you take a beating, you look different. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that. I was Sub-Zero though too. So
that's even better because he has the mask. So I was fighting Scorpion and I was just letting this guy beat me down, and then I end up winning, and you know how it does like a close up, or when you win, it's like a winner screen. Well, like half his mask was broken. You could see like his skull. All his like if you get hit in certain places, like your shirt rips and blood. I mean, you look different.
But if you're Johnny Cage, you don't have no shirt because you're awesome.
You don't have no shirt.
You don't have no shirt.
The girl, I was just beating her down, and I don't know from the old Mortal Kombat's her fatality. She takes her scarf off, and she has like.
She's nasty.
A monster face.
She's not pretty. Yeah. I'm not going to go out on a date with her anytime soon.
Well, when you're beating her up, like part of her mask gets torn, and you can see it as you're fighting her.
I watched that on the
internet.
Look for that.
Look for those little things. I thought that was awesome.
And it really was, like I said, it was a fun game, easy play.
Yeah.
What do you think? Comparing that to your Street Fighter 4 that you went out and bought a while back.
It's easier than Street Fighter 4.
Which for some gamers, they don't like that, but
no, and the special X-ray moves, they've made it super easy to do.
Right.
Like you hit two buttons. It's a special. If you play Super Street Fighter, the super specials like roll it 5 certain ways and hit B. I mean, you have to do some special button presses to get that.
Along with the fatalities and the finishing moves and stuff like that were so familiar to us on the Sega Genesis. I used to have, I don't know about you, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I used to have a notebook with all the stuff written down because, of course, we didn't have internet like that back then. So I would write them all down as soon as somebody would tell me at school to figure them out, or we'd go to the store.
Yeah,
we will get into that later. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but
surprises.
It was it's literally a 5-button combo: 4 like left, down, right, and then an X button or something, and you're doing a fatality. I remember Sub-Zero. I froze the guy Johnny Cage in half and just ripped him off, and he's got like half of his rib cage is still there, and it was awesome.
Johnny Cage's was probably the nastiest.
That's what you were saying today.
Yeah, his was pretty bad. Scorpion's is pretty bad, and there's also the stage fatalities. Did you do one of those?
No, I never got to that.
So there's only 2 stages on the demo. There's one in the pit. It's the old school one where
you can shove them into the pit with the uppercut.
You uppercut them and they fall down that deep pit. And then the second one was in the forest, of the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but my guy picked up the person and threw him in a tree's mouth, and he sat there and chewed him up.
The tree was alive?
Yeah, the tree did.
Nice. So, yeah, that was one of the other things that I've been playing was Mortal Kombat 4. So that demo is out.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of buzz right now. It was huge on IGN today. So, and like you said, PS3 is running a special. Let me ask you this: PS3, Xbox 360. I swear up and down, PlayStation 3's graphics have been 100 times better than Xbox 360 games. I felt.
Well, I think the games that are specifically made for PS3 definitely are, and there for a while all the developers said the PS3 was hard to code for and stuff, but I think they're starting to get around to it, and it's definitely got a little more power than the Xbox. But that game looks good. Mortal Kombat looks
it looks really raw, which is good, by the way. So, with you being said that, I played that a couple times. I'm also started Fallout New Vegas, and I mean, when I say I'm taking my time, I'm taking my time. It is, the graphics are 100 times better. The quests seem like a lot, I don't know. I really enjoy the game, and I can't wait. Deathclaw's killing me left and right, wearing me out.
Deathclaws?
Yeah, over by that Sloan mining camp.
I've been to Vegas, probably played about 10 or 12 hours, and didn't even C1 Deathclaw yet.
Oh, now they
It's
got
weird.
some weird super mutants and stuff. But really enjoying that. Duder has been begging me to play it with him, and of course I've been so busy this week, haven't been a chance. But so that's the Fallout New Vegas. I really suggest that. I know it's been out for a while, but I'm really getting back into the new Fallout again and really enjoying it. I love how they tie in little. Like I picked up a BB gun the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. So.
Did you have you made it to Vegas yet?
No, not yet. Like I said, I'm really taking my time, doing it slow, doing it right, just having fun, exploring and stuff like that. So, and of course, trying to level up, grinding through a couple of levels here and there just to get some leveling up. But other than that, that's what I've been playing. We get back to it after our first break. This is Never Press Pause, and we'll check out what we've been watching.
We can keep going. I was thinking of heading out now.
That's fine. This is episode 18.
That will
Never
probably
Press
be
Pause.
edited out.
Yeah, this is our first break. All right, guys, we are back. Never Press Pause, episode 18 from our first break. Just got done talking about what we've been playing. Let's real quick get into what we've been watching, if anything good, and we'll roll from there, and we'll get retro on them. I don't even think they're ready for this yet, but we're going to do it to them anyway. So, you been watching anything exciting? I've got one movie I've watched, and it was really good.
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
Speaking of not really, I watched Unstoppable, the train movie.
Oh yeah.
Man, oh man.
Denzel?
Yeah, and you like
King Kong.
he ain't got nothing on
Okay.
Denzel.
I didn't know if you pulled that quote out there.
That was a great quote from
Oh, yeah.
Denzel, but
It's
does
usable
a great
in
job.
many situations.
It very much is.
Oh yeah.
Very
When I'm
much is.
teaching kids and they like try to beat me in basketball, and I block them. I say,
you say-
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
and they don't have a clue what you're talking
They're
about.
like, is that from He-Man
Dude,
or something?
They don't say He-Man, do they? That would be awesome if they did. So, no, I watched that, and it's one of those true stories. It actually happened, actual events. They may have used some actual footage, I think, from these shots.
Cool.
Because
What
the
about like
characters-
news shots?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Like the footage from the news, I think was actual cut-in footage. But a really good movie. Like I said, it's a true story, so you kind of know what happens. Of course, it's Hollywood's version of the true story, so there's no telling exactly.
Yeah.
But very, very good movie. I really, really suggest Unstoppable. Get out there and watch that if you get a chance. Anything good on TV lately?
Survivor, baby.
Well, that and the
Survivor.
NCAA basketball. How's your
Yeah.
brackets? Let's talk about brackets real quick. Since we talked about last week.
Coming in, I was like, oh, the Big East is going to dominate. and all that stuff.
Overrated.
And I picked Notre Dame to go to the Final Four, out of the final game.
Mm-hmm.
I was Duke and Notre Dame, and I had, I think Louisville going at least to the Elite Eight, and both teams let me down big time.
Yeah, Louisville really hurt me. Kentucky's still in it, of course. You're supporting Kentucky. They're going to play Ohio State next, which will be this Friday.
Be a hard game. It'll be tough.
And
Be real
Brad
tough.
just got me off screen with
Oh,
it. Yeah,
okay.
he did it. He did definitely pull that off. Well played, sir. Well played. Very tough game and a lot of upsets. A lot of bracket busters going on.
Yeah,
VCU. I mean, come on.
And didn't they play in?
They did.
Yeah,
they were a playing
playing
team, so I guess that can shut up some of the critics. But at the same time, I mean, how much of it's a fluke? So it is what it is. I've been enjoying watching basketball, and we get right back into it.
It's pretty cool. I
tomorrow.
like how they've done
The four
all the
ch-
channels
Yep.
now.
The best part about the 4 channels is I've watched more basketball on my laptop, than I watched on any of the television.
Oh, really?
channels. Yeah, because you can get them at all times. So
That's cool.
we'll get that phone. Don't worry, it's not a big deal.
Caller line 1.
Caller line 1. We've got a call in, our first one ever, and they didn't even know we were.
First time, a long time listener, first time call.
Yeah, we really like what you're doing with the show, and but that's what we've been watching. And are we ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm
We're
ready.
going old school style, baby. We're
Yeah.
going old school. And what we mean by old school, since it's the two of us, we thought we'd give you guys a little something special, a little something different that you may not be used to on our show. But tonight, me and LBX, we're going to talk about old school video games and consoles.
And just
some memories,
Yeah.
if you will.
Or
like,
just the way things were. The way
I feel like
things
right
used
now
to
I'm
be.
strolling down memory lane.
Yeah.
I mean,
Am I pushing your stroller? No, I'm pushing you in a stroller.
Okay, you can push me in a stroller. Let's get it started. Do
Okay.
you want to do earliest memories of games? Because
All right.
I've got a game that I had to look up today. I could not remember the name.
Well, I don't actually consider this when I got into gaming. Maybe you did, but like my uncle, like when I was just a little kid, gave me an Atari.
A little tyke.
Yeah, and the games were horrible. Like
You.
this
your
was,
tongue.
I don't know if it was the 2600 or Atari, but like the Pac-Man wasn't even the Pac-Man that was in arcades. It was this really slow, generic block Pac-Man. Like the Pac-Man didn't really even move its mouth.
It just.
It was
gobbled
just
up
a
the
circle
power
that went
pellets.
slowly around.
Do you remember the cartoon, the Pac-Man cartoon?
Yeah,
It was horrible. So
and
first
I had-
gaming experience may have been that.
Well, that's when I first started. Like he gave me that, and then it had like it called it Olympics, but it was really 50 different kinds of Pong, and you would have Pong with 2 paddles, and then you would have the same Pong with it was 4 paddles, and it was just and they would call it hockey, and one was soccer, and it was all the same game, but they just made the screen look different to call it that. So,
I looked up
but
to-
I didn't really like. That's not what got me into games. That was just something.
That was just your earliest memory
Yeah.
of gaming. I would have to go with the Atari 2600, of course. My parents had it, actually. Apparently, my dad was just the man at Frogger back in the day. I think that's how he got all the ladies. 'Cause
Ooh.
who doesn't like a man that plays Frogger? But it was the Atari 2600 that came out. It dropped in 1977. Now, you were just talking about an earlier console, and they made... I can't remember the exact dates, but they were making these games just like the Atari, but a little generic.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, you know those little handheld games you can plug into your TV now?
Yeah.
It was those. It was just these little consoles with the little dials, stuff like that. And they had a
in
list.
television. Is that what it was called?
Something like that. And they had like a list of those before Atari 2600 hit. Of course, Atari 2600 revolutionized gaming for the most part at the time, and really took it with the joystick and then the little roll on the top with the side button. So let's talk about Atari. Did you have an Atari after that, or was that it for the Atari?
That was it for the
Okay, because
Atari.
I used to wear out some Pac-Man.
Now, was it the real? Like
It was the real deal Pac-Man.
Okay.
Like, and I'm talking, I had played so long, and of course, back then it was whatever, but I played so long and I was doing so well. I had up to like 30 extra men. I was just rolling through Pac-Man, just destroying it. And all of a sudden, my screen literally flipped upside down, paused, I died, and it flipped back over. And I lost like half of my score. It was like a glitch in the Matrix, And I'm like, Atari, no! Of course, I'm a kid at that time. So that was probably one of my earliest memories. But I will remember this, and I know if you know this, I may give you a hug on screen.
No.
It was called Vectrex.
No.
Vectrex. It literally was its own console with its own screen. So
Its own screen.
it had its own screen. So picture a tower of a computer, but not as deep, and it just sat up, and it had a controller, like a little joystick, like a little teenser joystick, and like 6 buttons. And you played games like almost like Asteroid on this. But like I said, I had to look it up. It came out in 1982, and one of my neighbors, Danny, had this game. It was called Vectrex. Like I said, it was its own stand-up, and it was amazing. Like I said, it was its own console, so you only had to do was plug it into the wall, and you were playing the
That's
game.
pretty
And it
neat.
had like the little cases like Atari did too. So those were like 2 of my
A cartridge?
Yeah, cartridges, if you will. Yeah,
I will.
Good. I'm glad. So those are our earliest memories. Now let's get into the real deal. Let's get into some NES, if you will. Will you?
Well, I will.
Okay, good.
So, like, when I first started playing Nintendo, like, some of my parents' friends, like, they had bought it for their kids, and I would go over to their house and, like, would play it for 2 or 3 hours straight. My parents were like, hey, don't you want to come in, and visit? And I'd be like, no, I'm playing this game. So I never, like, when I was a kid, my parents usually were like, if you want something to go buy it yourself, just save up your money. So I finally saved up enough money for a Nintendo, and it was probably
What
close to
grade are we in?
200. I don't know, second or third maybe.
Yeah, when we got ours, it was $200 still.
Okay, I think it was $200. Well, so I finally bought it, and I bought it after school one day. My mom took me to Kmart
That's where we got ours.
and got it. And I came home and probably played it from like 4 or 5 till like whenever I went to bed.
Yeah.
Just played Mario and Duck Hunt, and of course I was like,
the only thing it came
Dad.
with.
And my dad was like, these video games. I'm like, we'll play this Duck Hunt because he's a hunter.
Yeah.
And, he was like, and he still to this day goes, do you ever play that game? Like
Out there, Duck Hunt?
Yeah, he like not
The
the
dog?
duck, not the duck hunt part, but it was
clay shooting?
the clay pigeons. He
Those
thought
were
that was a
fun.
lot better.
Yeah.
And he still to this day talks about like that was the best video game. Like that's the only video game he had played, but he really liked it. But I mean, and I got so mad because my brother beat Mario before I did. Oh, I was so mad.
I don't think me and my brother ever beat Mario. My brother had a temper. We went through controller after controller at the house.
Yeah.
He would beat the controller. He would throw the controller. He would smack the controller around via the cord. So our controllers never lasted very long. But with that being said, after this break, you will find out how and why I got my first Nintendo.
Okay.
So, never press pause. We'll be right back after these short commercial messages. All right, guys, this is Never Press Pause, and we are back, and we are going to learn how I received my first Nintendo. Now, you said you got yours from Kmart. We've got ours from Kmart. Now, being the studious child I was...
Was there a Walmart back then?
No, Walmarts weren't even around.
Say.
Even though they say they've been around since like 1898 or something. I don't believe you, Sam Walton. I don't believe you one bit. So, Kmart was the big store at the time. Got me all choked up on that one. Kmart's the big store at the time. And in our hometown of Inglewood, well, Union, Ohio, but Inglewood with an E, not an I. We were having a deal, and for every A you got on your report card, you received $20 off any purchase. So, of course, we're in grade school. Me being the studious child I was, received all B's and C's on that report card. Didn't know I was working for something, and I would have done better. Yeah. My brother, however, gets 6 A's on his report card. Wow. All A student. Matt,
last time was probably the last time.
No, dude, he was an all A student almost through college.
I'm just kidding.
So
sorry, Matt.
It's all right, Matt. He's just making fun of you. It's not a big deal. You know you're smart. So we get $120 off. So what do? Mom, Dad, please, let's get a Nintendo. You know, we're like only 40 years behind all of our other neighborhood friends. So she takes us down. We get the Nintendo, $200. It's like an $80 purchase for them. You know, so it was much, much better. For them, we go and we get it, and we play Super Mario Brothers until like literally our fingers are red. Like you said, we played it all night, all day. Anytime we had free time, we were playing Super Mario Brothers, and just absolutely tearing it up. I kid you not, we played so much Super Mario Brothers. I'm sitting in 3rd grade class, and I'm just sitting there listening to the teacher, and like out of nowhere, it was the weirdest thing. Like I wish I could have filmed it, but it was in my head. Out of nowhere, like above the teacher's head, I just see Mario running across the screen.
You had a vision.
I had a Mario vision in class, and he's just bouncing up and down, hitting the little question marks, hitting coins, tearing it up. And I'm like, I played way too many video games at this point. I had to take a break. I had to unplug, if you will. So that was our first NES. Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt. We wore it out.
Yeah.
Next game. What do you get?
Well, back in the day, of course, you know, we were little kids. We didn't have jobs, you know, and I think this is why I am the way I am now. But I might get 2 games a year, 2 to 3 games a year when I was a kid.
Right.
Like bought games that I own.
Oh, that you bought yourself?
Or just got total. You know, I might get one at birthday, one at Christmas, and I might buy one of myself. But my parents were like, we're not going to buy it. You know, buy your own stuff.
Right.
So, you know, it wasn't like I was getting a new game every week back then. So I would buy games off kids on the school bus and stuff. Like, I mean, just
the trading of Nintendo games was maybe the most fun.
But the best investment I ever made, I bought Mike Tyson Punch-Out off a kid.
Great game.
Off the bus, and I had to, you know, blow the cartridge all the time because it was, you know, if you don't know on Nintendo, if your game didn't work, all you had to do was open the Nintendo up and blow in it, and blow the like side of where the cartridge goes in, and then it would work.
You literally just it made the coolest noise, and it worked.
Yeah,
it was magic.
So
sometimes that wouldn't work, and I would just take my finger and slide the cartridge that was already in and push down, and I would just slide it to the left or right.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
Again,
yeah.
It worked like a glove.
I would not push it in all the way. I push it in just enough for when you push the game down, the edge would hit the edge of the thing, and then it would start working.
Isn't that weird? And we didn't have internet to get on and be like troubleshooting Super Mario.
It was
Brothers.
all through word of mouth.
Yes, your friends told you, "Oh, you're just blowing it." Oh, okay, really? So,
but Mike Tyson Punch-Out, man, I loved that game.
The game was great, and we'll get into another part of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out that made it so great.
But
here in 1 second,
you know, the character, and for that time, even those graphics I think still look pretty good today. It looked like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Each boxer had his own personality, own way you'd beat them, and
they would say certain things if you're beating them or they were beating you.
And there was certain little tricks like if you hit I think it was the select button in between a round when Mac was.
But you could only do it once.
You could only do it once
rounds,
a fight.
Yeah.
And he would patch in your stamina and would go all the way back up for the fight. But that game, like, I could not beat Mike Tyson. It took me about a year or two to
actually beat him,
sit down and beat Mike Tyson.
So
it was tough.
Let's go ahead and talk about it since we're talking about Mike Tyson.
Did you play the game, Mike?
Yeah, Mike Tyson. God, I loved it. I wore it out.
I beat Mario, or not Mario. I beat Mike Tyson before I beat Super Macho Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you had the code.
Yeah. I couldn't get past is it Macho Man, Super Macho Man?
Super Macho Man.
Yeah, I could not beat him. I still never beat him. I beat Tyson, but couldn't beat Macho Man.
Now, we just brought it up an interesting point because this was one of the earlier games using codes and stuff like that. I mean, you guys got to remember, back then, there were no saving.
No.
And that's another reason you would spend $50 on a game, but it would last you 6 months, like Double Dragon. You would start playing it, you lose your 3 lives, and no matter how far you were in the game, there was no getting back that far without playing all the way
and that game was
through
hard.
it. Yes, it was tough. That wore me out.
Yeah.
And then jumping on Double Dragon made me so mad when you had to jump.
When
over
I got to the
little
rock
ravines.
stage where the rocks fell from the ceiling, I couldn't get past it.
Oh, I'd get so mad, and I think that's why my brother ruined so many remotes. But so you're putting in codes. I have a friend to this day, JB. He still knows by heart. He can just spout it off at any
the
given
Mike
time.
Tyson code.
The Mike Tyson code.
I think if somebody told me the first 3 numbers and letters, I could about remember.
Well, he may be listening, so if he may hit us up here in a little bit, he may not be. But he, like I said, he could do that. Another game was Contra.
Oh yeah, definitely had Contra.
Do you want to do it together, or do you want to just like the cheat code for that one?
Oh yeah, up, down,
left, right,
BA select
start, and that was for 2 players.
Now the only thing about that is you would have 30 players and your partner would have 30 players if you're playing 2 players. What would happen if your partner or your old brother there lost all his lives at the first?
Dude, that was the best line from Contra. Don't steal my men.
Don't steal my men.
Don't steal my men, man.
Did you steal my men?
You stole my man. And you'd just be giggling over there. Yeah, I stole your man.
Oh, my finger slipped. I was trying to put the control down. Oh, I'm playing anyway. Let's keep going. The Contra was great. I never played the other Contras, really. There was like a Super Contra.
I never did. I get into that.
But that one was good enough.
I tell you what, the Contra on the arcade, I'll go old school. Contra on the arcade was really fun, too. It was a top-down shooter.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. A lot of cool weapons.
What we're talking about with codes and things like that, we talk about no saves. If you got to Mike Tyson and you didn't write down the codes, and let's say your mom was like, oh, turn that off, come to lunch. It's not like you could hit pause, save, and then come back later and fight Mike Tyson. If you didn't know the code, you'd have to start from the very first fighter and go all the way through.
Unless you would say there was 3 spots in that game where you had codes, though.
Yeah, but you couldn't save it.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't write down the codes.
Yeah.
And even Mario. Like I had a buddy that lived down the street, and he would leave his Nintendo on for months at a time.
Trying to beat it.
Trying to beat games.
Yeah.
He did it especially for when Mario 3 came out. He left it on for like 2 months straight.
Mario 3 was a really good game. I really enjoyed that one. But that was back in the day when our TVs had screen burn. Like literally, like you would burn the image of Super Mario into your TV if you left it on and running all day.
Yeah.
So especially on a paused menu. So those are our Nintendo games. Any other Nintendo games? Let's talk about a little accessories for the Nintendo. The Nintendo is so dear to our hearts because it started us off. I mean, we talked about Atari, but Nintendo, the NES system.
That's what started gaming. I
mean,
pretty much.
Atari.
It never got super popular to
but
Mario.
The NES totally took it to another level. Did you ever have the Power Glove or the Power Mat?
I had the Power Pad. Yes, that's
the Power Pad.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah,
my uncle got it for me for Christmas. I blew up when I went crazy. He bought me like 3 games with it.
Track and field.
Well, track and field came with
right.
it. And then there was like an aerobics game. It was kind of like they're doing with the Wii and stuff.
Was Load Runner?
Never played.
You never played it?
No.
Load Runner, I think, would have been one for the Power Mat because all you're doing it's 3D and you're running and you jump over.
Name the fastest guy on track and field.
Me, anytime I play.
No, the last guy you would race.
Oh, I don't.
Cheetah.
Was that his name? I never knew
His
the
name
names.
was Cheetah. People were named after animals. And the only way I could beat him was to get on my knees and pound the power pad.
Oh,
with
see,
my
we
fist.
were never cool enough to get the power pad. No,
Oh,
my friend
okay.
down the street had the power pad, and when he got that, he let us borrow his power glove. And you never had the power glove, right?
No, I never had the power glove.
Okay, so like I said, my brother would go through spells of just breaking things, and you had these black sensors that would sit up on top of the TV.
A comment on here. It said, I had the power glove. It never worked right. It was complicated.
Oh, yeah. You had these black sensors on the top of your TV, and then it had a bar with the cord in there. And then you had black sensors down here with a bar and a cord, like PVC piping.
Yeah.
And it would hold them. And it would just sit on top of those big old TVs anyways. And then you had your power glove, and your fingers were cut out. And it had the control pad here, but it also had letters and everything else.
Yeah, it looked like
And
a keyboard.
It literally, the Wii boxing today is 100 times better.
Yeah.
So responsive. But yeah, it never worked.
Well, I mean, what drove me crazy is because I couldn't get it. But on the commercial for the Power Glove, it showed him playing Mike Tyson Punch-Out, and it showed the kid going like that. And of course, on the screen, it was like Lil Mac was doing your exact movements.
Yeah, it never did that. Like you're going to block and you're throwing an uppercut, getting destroyed by Iron Mike Tyson. But what we ended up having to do half the time was use the Power Glove's control just to play our games because my brother would break so many remotes. Matt, I still want to punch you for those broken remotes at the time.
So we've talked about Contra. We've talked about
Mike Tyson.
Mario. All the Marios were great.
Marios
Mario 2 was a little weird. It was so different than almost all the Marios.
Yeah.
To me, Excite Bike and RC Pro-Am were two awesome games that I played a lot.
Did you ever build
and Double Dribble?
Double Dribble.
There was a spot at mid-court that you couldn't miss. You could
or
hit
the
mid-court.
fact that there would be like what would look like popcorn in the middle of the court, and you just trip over it.
Yeah. No, that was Arch Rivals, wasn't it?
Was it?
You would trip over stuff in Arch Rivals.
But did you ever build your own tracks in Excite Bike? That was one of my favorite things to do, was building my own track. And I liked how in Excite Bike, as you progress through the levels, of course you couldn't save, but it got different colors. Instead of that ugly yellow, it would be like
it would get
blue
weird, dark blue and
I loved them. I
blue
love
and black
those colors. Black and yellow.
I got a question on here. Did we ever play? And I never did play it. Boy and His Blob. I've heard of it.
I have heard of it, but
I heard it was really a hard game.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nick doesn't like it, so nobody should like it.
Yeah. But yeah, Nintendo has just a library, and I'm sure they've made millions off the Wii and the virtual arcade when you can go back and I've already bought Mario 1 and 3 off their virtual console off the Wii.
My brother's done that. He's got Super Mario Brothers 3, I think, on there.
It's like you have, and I got the one. Well, we'll talk about it later, but
I like how we always we'll get to it. Yeah. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it. So the Power Glove, Power Mat, then
the light gun.
My buddy, I think his dad was in the military, and he had been overseas, and this is before any of anything going on overseas. So if you're in the military, you went over, you did your time, you hung out on base, and you got off base and did whatever you wanted. It was not a big deal to be in the military at that time. And he had found it was a gold case, not as cool gold like Zelda. Oh, we haven't talked about Zelda. I hate Zelda.
Zelda was not fun.
Not fun.
I don't see how it got so popular.
But it was also in a gold case, and that was one of the first games we got from Christmas from my aunt and uncle. And we thought, because it was in that fake gold case, that it was the greatest thing. So it was in a gold case, and it was a half of a cartridge. And you put that in, and the backside was the memory chip, basically, without the cartridge on it. And it had a thick string to it, almost a little thicker than this, so you could actually pop it up and then pull it out by that instead of grabbing the memory and touching it. It had 164 games on it, and some of them were actually. This was from Japan.
Okay,
so because Japan NES is where it gets started. So he brings it over, gives it to his son. He brings it over to the house, and we play that game and wear out every game we can think of on that. And it had 1942 and all these silly little games, but as a kid and you've got 162 games at your disposal, you're blown away at that time. Awesome. Now you've got it at your fingertips on the internet. Just virtual NES. Okay, I can play any of them.
Yeah.
I'm coming in. Guys.
Chad's coming in.
Presentation.
Today,
in case you didn't watch or read, is National Chip and Dip Day.
Sweet.
So there you go.
Well, thank you very
I
much.
like chips and dip.
I thought you were going to talk to us about the old NES or something.
Yeah, I thought he was going to come in and say his favorite game.
I did too.
All right, before we get off Nintendo,
Which it should be soon. I mean, we've been dogging it.
there was something that revolutionized gaming for a little bit. And back in the day, you had cheat codes. Like now they make it where you have to buy cheat codes.
I know where he's going. I know where you're going.
But
before you go
this
there.
company made this thing. It was called Game Genie.
We got it.
And you would attach it to your cartridge, put it in. Now, when I bought it, I thought you would just put the game in and add the Game Genie and you could do whatever you wanted to.
No, not the case.
You had to find codes or...
it came with a
code book, but as more games came out, you had to buy like code books for it. So you could do like get 1,000 lives in Mario, or you could...
But you could only put in 3 codes. Remember that? You could only put in 3 codes per game. So you had to choose, and like you would open the booklet, which was literally like... It was a huge book. And you would be flipping through to your game, you'd find Super Mario Brothers. And then you'd say, oh, I want 100 lives. Or, oh, I want to be no gravity, so you could jump to the moon or back.
Yeah. Or somebody would say, oh, I beat Mike Tyson last night. I beat it in 10 minutes. I'm like... Yeah. With the Game Genie, I put in a no hurt code.
No hurt or 100% heart or stamina. Yeah, come on. Don't cheat us. Don't cheat a cheater.
And up until probably, games like EA are starting to almost sell cheat codes as like a download now. But there's no cheat codes anymore in games. Like,
oh, there are. Do you not ever? I get on cheatcc.com.
There's not really cheat codes.
Well, you know what? I do. I do cheat. Tony Hawk is my nemesis for wanting to cheat because of rail balance and manual balance. And I love those games that I will put in cheat codes off CheatCC every time I get a chance. So, all right, are we wrapping it up on the NES? Or
can we move on to the next generation?
The next generation. Well, you know what? They did not on Wikipedia. Of course, I didn't use that as my only source, but I did look at that just to get some dates for our consoles coming out. Which Nintendo was in 1985, by the way, is when that came out. So I was 5. You were...
What, 19 when?
85.
I was 5.
5 years old, so...
But I didn't get it when I was 5.
Yeah, no, many years down the road. They lumped this one in with the NES. But, of course, we would have still been playing Nintendo because we'd have just got it.
What's that?
But our next generation game console would have to be Sega Genesis.
Yeah. So
1988.
So here Nintendo rolls in. No competition really. I mean, Atari doesn't even make. If they did make a competition, it wasn't.
At that time, Atari was like almost out the.
So this a new to America company rolls in and they're like,
chip
"Oh, you've got your Mario. Well, we've got this little blue hedgehog. We're going to call him Sonic." And Sega,
it took off.
Oh yeah, it took off. And I think, did it come out before the Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Okay, it came out a little bit before it.
1988 Super Nintendo doesn't come out until 1991.
Okay, so it had quite a bit of head start, but it really didn't. I don't think gain steam until people started getting arguments. Oh, the Genesis is better. Now I really wanted a Super Nintendo when it came out. But for Christmas, I never had it. But for Christmas, I think my parents or my uncle got me a Sega Genesis. And of course, I fell in love with Sonic. I was like, oh, who needs a Super Nintendo now?
You fell in love with Sonic. Let's also talk about going away from the old square 2-button controller to the high-tech boomerang almost style D-pad and 3 buttons across.
I had a special controller with 6
buttons. You had the 6 buttons for
my fighting game.
You love the fighting game, so that makes complete sense.
Actually, somebody on Ustream here was talking about Super Street Fighter. Now, when the Genesis was out, that's when games, people complain about game prices now, $59, $49. I really wanted, it was a Super Street Fighter, I believe, Super Street Fighter 2, and it might have been Turbo, I don't remember. But it finally came out.
I hated the Turbo version.
It finally came out for Sega Genesis. I was like, oh, I want it. And my aunt at the time was like, okay, I'll get it for you. So she bought it for me. She goes, I told you I'd buy it for you. And I almost didn't because she said it was $69. And I mean, $69 for a cartridge game.
But you got to think, that's back before 1990s. Like, you're looking at, well, I don't know. I may have gotten
I was around
after.
6th grade, probably.
So you're sitting there thinking, prices today. Yeah, and we've talked about that on here. But back then, even Nintendo games.
No, it was
Zelda
worth
was
it.
like $50.
Yeah, it was worth it. Super Street Fighter 2, that game, we would have tournaments and everything in middle school. That game was awesome.
It was great. And, with that being said, we've introduced Sega. Came out in 1988, and we will talk about some of the games that we played for that and how it helped us become even bigger nerds and bigger gamers.
Yeah.
And right after our next break, remember this is Never Press Pause, episode 18. All right, fans, welcome back to Never Press Pause. This is episode 18, and a very special episode, not just because Jeremy's not here, and we do miss him, but
Tonight, a very special episode.
Tonight on a very special episode of Never Press Pause. But we're talking old school. We're talking old school video games, how we got started into the gaming situation and the gaming world, and just basically running through some of the old consoles and everything else. So, absolutely loving it and digging it. And speaking of, he just walked in the door. Old G-Baby is here. All right, we stopped with Sega Genesis.
We talked about game prices.
Game prices on the Sega. Everything else came out in 1988. My favorite game, Sega Genesis, Coach K basketball.
I never played it.
Not only because it was college basketball, it was the fact that it had jersey numbers that actually lined up with the players at the time. And, for the time, of course you had your Madden. But at the time, Coach K basketball, me and my brother played that nonstop. You could do playbooks, take playbooks from other teams. I think if I remember correctly, you could play it where you would lose stamina. I hate that word, and things like that. But Coach K basketball was one of my favorite games.
I never played that. But
you played Madden though, didn't you?
No, I didn't play Madden. My two favorite games on Genesis about it, besides like Sonic and. I was a big Road Rash fan.
Oh my gosh. I got a story about Road
Joe
Rash
Montana
too.
football.
I remember that.
Joe Montana football was awesome.
Remember you could do the blimp can?
Yeah.
And you could like X and
It looked
O's?
like dots.
Yeah.
Yeah, X and O's. And my favorite game of all time was called NHLPA 93 Hockey. And it actually got better. Like, they didn't have the rights to call the team names, so they used all the players' names, and it kept stats. And it was one of the first games to use a save system. Like, I mean, you could save it. Sega made cartridges with this little yellow thing. I don't know if you remember seeing it. And they said that was where the game was saved. It was like this little yellow part of the cartridge. And,
I always wondered where that'd come from. I never knew where that'd come from.
That was like their game save system. So you could play seasons, all-star games, but like that game made me really like hockey. Like, I got to know the rules of it.
Oh, I mean, icing, offsides, all this stuff.
Everything. So that's still, every now and then I will get my Sega Genesis out and play that game because it's so fun.
Do you remember breaking the glass behind the goal
yeah,
if you
with a
shot it too hard?
With a hard shot. And there was only a certain few people that could do it.
And you say that for Sega, and we totally missed a game on NES. One of the greatest games. No, Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, that game was pretty
awesome. That game, you did stats.
People still, like, they came out with an updated version on it.
And it was,
Xbox.
I can't believe we missed that one, but I mean, we've been so just enthralled in everything
so many
else.
games.
So, yeah, and if we could sit here and name off games all night if you wanted us to, but I don't think you really do. All right, so Sega comes out. We love it. There's so many games. And then that was like my console throughout like most of my high school days.
Yeah.
I never got into the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo dropped in 1991. I played it over my cousins, and I tell you what, and I think this is what got me so excited about flying games and like combat games in the air was Star Fox. And I could never get past the second level, but man, I love playing some Star Fox. And remember, you had Ribbit and like the other animals.
Peppy.
Yeah, and
Peppy, yeah,
and
Peppy the frog.
Yeah, they would just
Peppy got on my
crazy.
nerves.
So that was my Super Nintendo experiences. I didn't have much more of that.
I played quite a few games on it, but the Mario games, Super Mario World, I think was the big release on that. That's when they introduced Yoshi. So a lot of people like that. We're kind of back to Genesis, and a lot of people seem to have Genesis, and you would think that popularity would have carried on and on, But then Sony came along, kind of pushed them out.
Sony.
But we had somebody. You said you liked a college basketball game.
Yeah.
Mike Krzyzewski. Sully here on Ustream said he played Bill Walsh college football, and I don't think I ever played that.
No.
I'll tell you what else was big in those days was NBA Jam.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's on fire.
Yeah, oh gosh, I played those.
You remember, and you had cheat codes for that, and you could get like
big head
modes or
famous people. There was like
Bill
presidents.
Clinton. You put in ARK for Bill Clinton, stuff like that. That was
there
really
was
cool.
a Mortal Kombat character because it was made by Midway. You
Yep.
could get Raiden and Raiden, whatever you call him, on there and stuff.
So,
But we haven't talked about Mortal Kombat
on the Sega
and Super Nintendo because there was a big. All right, when Mortal Kombat came out, of course, everybody knows about the fatalities. Well, when it came out, there was a big uproar in the media.
Well, they've never seen that kind of blood on screen for a video game.
One of the guys' fatalities was like doing an uppercut and ripping your head off and holding your skull up.
With the spine still attached.
Now, Nintendo and their, kid-friendly console, they censored that. Like, they still sold Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo, but it was censored, no blood, and a lot of the fatalities were either taken out or like toned down.
I think even on Sega, I think you could put in a code to tone it down or bump it up as
but
well.
it wasn't censored on Sega,
Right.
and a lot of people were mad when they bought it for their Super Nintendo and it didn't have all the bad stuff. But I remember playing it and thinking, "Oh man, I'm gonna get in trouble if somebody finds out I'm playing this." I thought I was playing it, and it's still pretty graphic.
Especially for back then.
For back
but even
then.
nowadays, I
It
mean,
would be considered
you
pretty
ripping
graphic.
off somebody's head and
or
their spine still
pulling their
attached.
heart out
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Get over
It
here.
doesn't compare to the new Mortal Kombat fatalities, really.
No, because those things are awesome.
But that was a big one, big game back then.
That being said, Super Nintendo, like you said, we didn't play too much. Nintendo 64 drops before. Now, Sega doesn't go away. Sega jumps around with Sega Saturn.
No, after the Genesis, they made an add-on called the Sega CD.
Yeah, and then it went to Sega Saturn as a full
but people
console.
don't buy add-ons that much, so it wasn't very popular.
And I did play Sega Saturn. One of my friends had Sega Saturn, and it was a CD.
The first CD
first
basic.
CD, games. And the game, you were basically first person in a fighter pilot cockpit, but you were in sewers. And there were like little rats that would jump up on the wall, and there were like flying things that would come at you, and it was like in space sewers or something. But you had to pay attention to the top of the screen because it would tell you left, right, left, whichever way to turn.
Now, was that a FMV game, movie? Because when those games came out,
it
you
was
know what I'm
not.
talking
Yes,
about.
I do now. I was
It was
kinda
like-
confused, but
It was shot with like a camera. It wasn't graphics. It was like real video footage,
No,
and you would
this
hit
was-
buttons to go which way.
no, this was you just had to go down the right tunnels, or you would run into a dead end and die. And I know for a fact because my friends always wanted to play NBA Jam, but I always wanted to play. God, I wish I could remember the name, Sewer something. But it was the greatest game, and I would play that for hours on end while they were just sitting around doing nothing. And I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I love this game, but
I played Sega Saturn for just a little bit. A buddy of mine had it, but it was really expensive.
very expensive. And like you said, nobody was doing add-ons back then like
Yeah.
that. So Sega didn't fall to the wayside, but they were pretty much done. Nintendo
priced
64 drops right after Super Nintendo in 1996, and Nintendo 64's graphics really evolutionized games.
Yeah,
at
well,
the time.
it came out, when the big thing was when a new Nintendo console came out, a new Mario came out.
Right.
And they came out with the first 3D, running around in 3-dimension Mario 64. And it's still considered one of the best platformers, like, by the media today, is one of the best platforms. Now, when
It
I
was a
bought
great
it,
game.
yeah, I bought it, and I wasn't that big into it. The game that came with mine when I bought it from a buddy was Wave Race 64. Did you ever
Oh,
play-
yes.
Wave Race 64. We played that all the time. It was a jet ski game, basically. And it was really fun. Like, we wouldn't even race on. You could play 4 players. We would play hide and go seek because the stages were huge, and we would go hide and try to find like corners and hide in them. And the other person would leave the room, and then when they'd come in, they would try to find you.
in the
and that's
fun. Hilarious. Now Nintendo 64, and it was a game right before 64 it was done. 64 was going down, and because actually PlayStation came out before the 64 did in 1994. Conker's Bad Fur Day.
That's one of my favorite games ever.
It may have been one of the funniest, well-written games. It probably to that time, it definitely was. But the fact that it used the movie The Matrix, Aliens, Saving Private Ryan, all these movies were thrown in there, and it was a squirrel.
A lot of parody.
Oh,
it was so funny.
It was one of the funniest games I had played at the time. And you know what? That actually...
Well, it was made by Rare, which made some of the best games ever. Rare made GoldenEye.
And we'll talk about that here in one second.
GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, some other game. They made one more game. Oh, well, Perfect Dark. That came out.
And Perfect Dark, actually, its AI knew if you had... I remember my buddy was beating Perfect Dark. Did you ever beat it?
I think so, yeah.
The very end, you had to switch your controller out of controller port 1 and put it in 4 because the AI knew what you were going to do before you did it, which I thought was absolutely amazing at the time. So Conker's Bad Fur Day, let's talk about GoldenEye because it literally revolutionized multiplayer gaming.
And first-person shooting.
shooting.
For consoles.
Split screen or 4 screens, up to 4 buddies could play on the Nintendo 64. First-person shooter, multiplayer. And you're running around a map.
Awesome maps.
Killing people with proximity mines, golden guns, paint guns. Remember, you could get all those mods.
Oh, yeah. It had a bunch of different guns.
You could do custom maps, custom games, and just set up rocket launchers.
Oh, you could set up like 1-shot kills or 100-shot kills. My favorite map on the whole game was... I think it was Facility, where there was a bathroom. Mm-hmm. There was a bathroom upstairs, and then in the bathroom you could get up in the ceiling.
Yep.
And then you could go down the stairs, and there was a couple rooms. There was a long corridor with a couple. That was my favorite level. All the levels were based from the game. Like,
my least favorite part of that, and it was a great single player. Yeah, the whole single player
had
was
missions
great.
And submissions.
My least favorite part of playing that game was my roommate, and this was in college, my first year of college. My roommate in college knew every spawn point. So when you played multiplayer against them, he was waiting on you after he killed you to kill you again. And so like you finally got to the point you're like, listen, I'm quitting or you're going to stop spawn killing.
You really could know those maps. I got to know them so well. Like I knew, okay, this guy's going to be here.
So, and that was pretty cool. We talked about PlayStation dropping in 1994. I didn't get it until I headed off to college.
Couple Nintendo 64 games.
Oh, okay.
People here on Ustream, the first one I played a ton of was NFL Blitz.
Oh my gosh!
The hits in
it was
that
like
game.
NBA Jam. For
what was
the
it?
NFL.
6-on-6, I think. I mean, there was 6 players on the screen.
I think so.
Something like it wasn't the full football. That game, you had the big hits. You used the turbo.
Drop back and throw a 90-yard bomb.
It was another game made by Midway. It was real fun. Blitz. Super Smash Brothers, which I never played. I tried. I didn't like it.
Like they used to hold tournaments for that. Like
it's
money
very popular.
Yeah,
never got into it, but it. Of course, GoldenEye, and then Robbie here on Ustream said Rare. We talk about the game. They also made all the Donkey Kong games.
Donkey Kong.
Those are pretty good games.
But they reinvented Donkey Kong at that point. Like he was almost like a Sonic or a Mario at that time.
Yeah, it was kind of like another version of Mario.
So. Yeah.
But back to PlayStation. I never owned the regular PlayStation, but one of my buddies just let me borrow it for like a year. And I got to play the Metal Gear games and the Lara Croft games, Tomb Raider and stuff like that. And, it was another CD-based, games. The Nintendo 64 was a cartridge. The PlayStation was CD, and the only thing I hated about it was load times. I was like, I gotta sit here load. Nintendo 64 didn't have load times.
Sony stall station, people were calling and stuff back then. But then once again, the graphics go through the roof. PlayStation is graphics. I wore out some FIFA and Resident Evil on PlayStation, because Resident Evil came out with PlayStation, right? That's the console that it came out for. And
when it started, yeah.
So
it did eventually. Resident Evil 2 came out on Nintendo 64. So I bought it.
So PlayStation had that. What else did PlayStation have?
Crash Bandicoot.
That
was kind of their mascot.
Yes.
I had Dukes of Hazzard 2 ready for home.
I would hate to think you wouldn't, Nick.
Twisted Metal.
Got it started on Spectre. I could run and gun with Spectre, and he would shoot something through the map. It was like an invisible bullet that went through
homing
buildings.
missile?
Yeah, but it would go through buildings and stuff. And man, I Twisted Metal, the original, and the second one, I could not have been beat.
Well, for me, PlayStation was when sports games started getting really good.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, like, especially NBA Live for the PlayStation, I thought was just,
Madden went to another level because
Yeah.
you had so many buttons and choices to
yeah,
spin
and
and everything
we didn't
else.
talk about the buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Progressively adding more
Well,
buttons.
Nintendo 64 went to the roll D-pad.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was
the
a
Nintendo
very
64 was weird because
You know what? We didn't even mention Super Mario Kart on Nintendo 64.
I didn't like Mario Kart.
Dude,
I'm
there
still
was-
not a Mario Kart fan.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, but we would drink and drive to Super Mario Kart. But we would drink and drive left-handed with the controller and right-handed with the drink. And that was
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah,
dude.
it was a little crazy. I mean, some bad accidents happened, to Donkey Kong and Mario. But
Now, you was talking about Twisted Metal. I never played. There was 2 or 3 Twisted Metals for PlayStation when they came out.
I remember PlayStation Black or
No,
Twisted
that's
Metal
PlayStation
Black.
2.
Yeah, in that game.
Whoa.
Twisted
That
Metal
was
Black?
the best game for PlayStation 2. I loved that game.
I love me some
That had the
PlayStation
best best stories ever movie.
So we are getting a little low on time. PlayStation.
You're fine.
Oh, never mind.
There's 4 Twisted Metal games.
Oh, sorry.
4
Marty,
Twisted
thank you. 4
Metals?
Twisted Metal games.
Total.
Black was
Is that counting Black?
No, Black was first PS2.
Okay.
Okay.
I not to skip ahead, but Twisted Metal Black, it was dark. It had like every character was psycho, and it told this really dark story. I mean, I beat the game with every character just to get the story, and then it ended with "Paint It Black" by the Rolling Stones. And oh man, that game was so fun. I wish they would almost do a remake, but they are making a new Twisted Metal.
So, we can go ahead and jump ahead because we're done with PlayStation. I mean, it was
I'm trying to think. Nintendo 64 had a ton of just great games. I know
all these consoles had games that people were gonna like or didn't.
One of the highest rated game of all time was on the Nintendo 64, Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh God,
I thought it was pretty good. I never did beat it, but guys like Ryan Sinners and
he thinks it's the best game ever made.
Yeah.
He still
And who else-
he goes back and plays it
who
now.
else loves that game? Stephen Burdine
They love
loves that game.
They probably played it together, growing up together. I mean, they probably were always playing it together. So I can
And
see that.
it was a lot of people getting a lot of comments here on Ustream. People loving Twisted Metal Black.
I did not like it. I did not care for. After the second one, I kind of just stopped playing it. I just didn't like it as much. I may have to go get that sometime, maybe on the cheap on Amazon or something.
And
try it
it's
out.
definitely
again.
worth it. The final boss,
You can play
was a
PlayStation
helicopter.
2 games in PlayStation 3, right?
Nah, some of them you can.
Okay.
But the boss in Twisted Metal Black was a helicopter, which was really hard because
Yeah, you're a car.
yeah, so you had to use it would come low and you'd have to jump off ramps to like smash it or use your missiles or something like that.
Huh.
It was pretty tough.
Interesting. So PlayStation 2 drops in 2000, and
That was the first console. Well, we were in college.
oh yeah,
Okay,
we would've
so
been almost into the real world.
That's when I kind of had a job, and I was like, I'm getting this the day it comes out. And I went and they were like, oh, if you don't buy it in October when it comes out,
you're gonna have to wait.
you're going to have to wait. And I sat in line for like 10 or 11 hours at Walmart in Richmond.
Was that for PlayStation or I know you did that for
2.
Xbox 360
well, yeah,
as well.
I did for PlayStation 2. And I bought Madden and SSX was launch games for that. And when I got home, I mean, this happens with every console, but you're like, there's nothing that can look better than this. I was thinking, this is as good as video game is going to look when Madden came out because it was the first. I mean, the shiny helmets, the players looked real.
You could do so much more on the PlayStation 2 as well, like be a coach, and you had so many different options that are now taken for granted on these consoles. That back then it was just brand new.
Yeah, and that SSX, that was one of my favorite games for PS2. That and Twisted Metal. They're supposed to be making a new one.
Do you remember on PlayStation the X games that came out with it, and like you could street luge and like all these other dumb extreme. It was like extreme games.
Yeah,
that'd come out. That was silly.
And then all the characters got dark sides. Like they started making their characters darker. Like Jack and Daxter.
Oh yeah,
they made a Dark Jax.
Yeah,
Dark Jack.
My series right there.
Yeah.
That was a fun series. I really did enjoy that one. It was a little different than some of the other ones.
It was just a fun platform.
Do you remember when they redid Pitfall for PlayStation?
Yeah.
And they used Briscoe County. That's not his name, but Briscoe County Jr. was the guy that played him.
I know who you're talking about.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
They used Bruce Campbell's voice in there, and I would crack up. So PlayStation 2 comes out in 2000. Xbox comes out in 2001.
I thought Xbox would fail. I was like, I'll never buy an Xbox.
It was so
I was like, it'll be dead by
and big at the time.
And
when PlayStation
Microsoft was making it.
Yeah. And I never got one. Did you get an Xbox?
Yes, I bought it for Halo.
And
I ended up playing it almost more than my PS2 once I got it. Because really good games came out for Xbox. And they looked better. It had a little more power. And then I started my Xbox Live on the original Xbox. Like, I started it, so.
That's crazy. I remember, we've got that on our homepage. Robbie says, Enter the Gecko, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage were two of my top picks.
Enter the Gecko?
Yeah, Enter the Gecko. I don't know what that is, Robbie. You're going to have to help me out on that one.
Like Gecko and that like tuxedos.
Yeah. But he had a name, I forgot. Gex?
007.
Yeah, Gex. Enter the Gecko.
Okay,
yeah. But so those are some of Robbie's picks, and
We need to take a break?
No, we're done after this. This is
man.
wrapping it up. Yeah. How much time we got?
You got negative 30 seconds.
Negative 30 seconds. Well, fantastic. Well, let's do 10 more minutes when we come back. We're going to do 10 more minutes when we come back from this break. This is episode 18. Never press pause. All right, guys, we are back. This is episode 18, and we are so glad that you could join us. For those of you following us on Ustream, we will be doing another live episode right after this, episode 19, and it'll be me and Grant talking about the retro movies. However, PlayStation 2, Xbox, you had it. Got you an Xbox Live. You got me started on Xbox 360 with that stupid
ping pong
game. And now we have PlayStation 3. All three of us own both consoles. Well, even the Wii. I've got the Wii. You've got the Wii. Needless to say, it's been a long, great road of video games, and they just continue to blow our minds, continue to get better. Any last comments on any of the video games? Any games that you want to give maybe a quick shout out to or anything?
It's just, maybe we can do another podcast that talks more about PS2 till now, because
perfect idea.
I mean, PS2 had just the big. Metal Gear Solid 2.
I never got it. Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Well, Sega Genesis is how I got started on Eco the Dolphin.
No, I'm not talking about that Eco. I'm talking about another game.
Right.
That's
Echo. Yeah, whatever.
But we could do a whole other thing about that and Xbox games.
So maybe in the near future we'll be doing a PlayStation 2 till the Wii / PlayStation 3, and all of those dropped in 2005, 2006. So, guys, thanks for joining us. Remember, don't forget our website, neverpresspause.com. You can hit us up with questions, comments, concerns on our Facebooks. Also at neverpresspause at yahoo.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at neverpresspause.
A lot of good. Jeremy's doing a great job. Just different things when like special events on TV. He's done real good. Like
always
fights
got something going. And he blogs like crazy. So check those out. Read them. Please leave us comments. We always care about feedback. Guys, if you've got dumb questions like whether or not we prefer chicken or fish, let us know. Okay, we want to answer your questions on our airtime. So help us out. Hit us up. And thanks for watching Never Press Pause. This is episode 18. And remember, fans.
Oh, real quick.
Hey-oh.
Your brother got on here, said sorry to be tardy to the party. Guess what he said was a great game?
What?
NHLPA hockey.
People
know this.
He does
People
know that. So Matt's back and he's ready for the next episode. Guys, this has been episode 18. And remember, fans, never press pause.